Oh shit, what's gonna happen now? It can't be it. I don't think it's gonna be it. I think there's gonna be a little bit more. Been streaming for almost exactly an hour here. I think that's the aether draining away from his body, right? Kind of like how Odin kind of just like crumbled to dust.
Tell
This man is
me,
so shook.
what do you imagine will befall this world now that you have gained your precious freedom?
Oh, that's it.
I honestly don't know. But I doubt it will be pretty. A sorry tale of sin and suffering, hardship and pain.
And it was for this that you fought so fiercely? Why?
It's who we are. We fight. We survive. We endure. We don't need a reason. We are imperfect creatures. When we stumble, we reach for a shoulder to lean on. When we fall, we stand back up.
His music kind of sounds familiar, no?
We see the horizon.
Like the little piano
We're
undertones?
out of reach, and still we march on.
I don't know why my mind thinks Final Fantasy VII, although I think that's wrong.
Because that is our way.
My congratulations. Relish this victory, knowing that you have but delayed the inevitable. Your world is already dead. May you enjoy an eternity.
We're actually absorbing Ultima.
Husk.
And he's saying basically the Blight's gonna take over your world anyways, so enjoy it. Idiot. We're literally absorbing a fucking god right now. That's crazy. Okay, maybe I was wrong. I guess that is it. Ultima looks to have just fucking died. And we were fighting in a different dimension that whole time, because we're still in Origin. I'm honestly surprised Clive made it. I really thought he was gonna die at the ending here. All the scenes we just had before. Now that's a sight for sore eyes. I honestly really wish that Clive had, like, retaken Rosaria. I feel like that would have been an awesome plot point. Or even if they made it a side quest to, like, retake it, make it, like, the new hideaway and stuff. I think that would have been awesome. I'll stay to that. Was it him being knighted? Or being the shield or whatever? Oh, I like the music. It's nice. We're going all the way back. Every memory of Joshua we have. Oh my god. I mean, I guess it makes sense, you know, if someone did pass, like, that was, like, your relative, like, this close, right? You think back to maybe the first moments that they had and, you know, seeing them for the first time and your best experiences with them and all that, right? Oh, it's official. His entire family is dead. Elwyn's dead. His mom killed herself. Joshua's gone. You gotta destroy it. He still hasn't destroyed it.
It seems Ultima's power was too great for this vessel all along.
What?
But while I have it, perhaps I can use it to set things right
Wait, what?
and see Ultima's legacy. Bearers, dominance, crystals, magic, consigned to the flames. Even if it means the end of me.
So basically, just from healing Joshua's, like, gaping hole, he could tell that the power was too much. So somehow he's gonna change stuff with the power, and it's gonna kill him.
These are our terms.
So there it goes. So what's gonna happen to the capital then? Is it just fucked? It's never gonna be the same again? Oh, it's disintegrating too, look. Oh, fuck. The 6 actors that played Clive Rosfield, jeez. They had 6 different main languages. This cutscene, more than like every single other one, looks amazing. Oh, he's being petrified. No, I guess we were right after all. He does die. Bid 3.0. Oh, it's yeah, the baby.
Aren't you the most beautiful thing?
He is, isn't he? What are you gonna call him?
Let me see, let me see. Oh, read little one. Got a smile for your Uncle Gav.
Not so loud, you bird.
What? I was only...
You're scaring him.
It's all right.
Oh.
Aww. What the fuck?
A sky of scattered tears, 1,000 years apart. Should they fade, I will not be afraid of the dark. For
If you need a rest, I can take him.
I'll hold you to that.
What the hell? Like Media flashed. And then they just all know.
Yours now. Yours to do with as you please. That's what Sid wanted. That's what they both wanted.
Aww. I was Media being like, yeah, that wish you wanted of him coming back, it's not, it's not happening, bro. just cut it. Oh God. Aww.
And thus did our journey end.
And there you go. That's it. The ending. So eventually Clive does succumb to his fate. It looks like he needed all of his power to get rid of the origin crystal? I'm not really sure. I guess that was kind of it. Like he'd healed Joshua's wound and he could already tell like the power was way too much for him to control, and it probably already made him start turning into a crystal in some way, shape, or form. Or into dust, whatever you want to call it, crystallizing. And then once he was like, well, I still gotta destroy the crystal, and he's like, the only way I can do that is by using this power. And then he got rid of it in order for primogenesis and all the aether to basically go back and dissipate, you know, and be back to its original form. I mean, you don't really get an answer if they're gonna be, you know, their world's gonna be blighted too, assumingly. Like, just like Ultima said, just like he kind of insinuated, the blight is still gonna take over the world. Everyone else doesn't get an answer. I mean, the way I see it, everyone else is just completely hoed and they have no idea why. It's only really Clive that knows every answer, and then even then, his hideaway people don't really know what happened. They just know, like, hey, Clive didn't come back, but the crystal's gone, primogenesis is clear, the skies are clear, you know, we can go on and doing what we're gonna do in our day-to-day. No conclusion to whether, like, people will be treated equally, no conclusion if, the blight ever gets done away with and all that stuff. I mean, you think you've got Midodol, you've got the top mines, if any survived in Canberra. I don't know, they kind of got slaughtered. The whole below continent is just taken over by, like, stray goblins and orcs at this point, and animals. There's no people there anymore. I mean, it's all bad. Pretty dark and gloomy ending. You know, main cast dies. The only ones who survive are the people that were like the side people from the hideaway. But every like main character is pretty much dead. And again, we don't get any answers to if they're gonna come back, and they're gonna end up being equal if the blight goes away. Nothing. It's just all kind of left up to what people do from here on out. Just like impromptu. I mean, like, let's look at it this way. If I didn't do any side content, this game would have been a lot faster. I would have liked the story points a little more. I wouldn't have bitched as much at stupid side quests. Although there were still ones that were in the main quest itself too, don't get me wrong. And honestly, the only ones that really mattered in my opinion were like that last dose, the side quest Palooza ones where you get like 14 at a time. Because those were like big story developments, right? Also maybe like a couple on the last little batch of ones you get too, because remember, that's where you get like the Crimson Caravan, like the brother dies, and you know, the sister's left alone, and she wants to keep doing what she does in honor of what she used to do, and then of course her brother as well. So I mean, those mattered, and then the Quentin line was actually pretty cool, although it didn't get flushed out too much. It was just kind of like, he went to go attack with his people, they got slaughtered, you went to save him, then he kills the guy. You know, it wasn't too flushed out. And then another side thing that I didn't like was that side characters don't get flushed out that well. I mean, Jill had her like little revenge arc and everything, but she didn't really like say what she did exactly or what he made her do. Didn't really account for her experiences. We never know who the fuck that person was that she ended up saying like, flee, get far away from here, like the kitchen maid or whatever she was that you see row away from Drake's breath afterwards, like on the little rowboat. Like, we never get any of that explained. We don't get a lot of side stuff with like Joshua when he comes back. We get some, don't get me wrong, we get some, but we don't get like a lot. Jill really doesn't even get touched on afterwards until you have your little romance scene at the very end there in the last side quest. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like just wasn't expanded again on properly. And some things I gotta touch on, guys. Performance-wise, this game was a mess. Like, you launch your game with frame rate issues and motion blur, with no ability to turn off motion blur, and you knowingly know there's frame rate issues, and you have the motion blur literally to hide the frame rate. And it's a AAA title. If you need to, just hold off until the big patch. It shouldn't be released until then. Like, you shouldn't wait for a patch. It should just be released when it's ready, right? That's how I feel like with all games. Like, just release them when they're ready. Don't rush them out. I understand it's not like their fault sometimes. Sometimes it's publishers. Sometimes it's the people themselves rushing it out. Sometimes they have pressure from like quarterly market stuff going on with the business side of things. I understand that. But like, this game, if you let them polish it, would have performed great. And not only that, a AAA title having the potential to fuck up your new PlayStation 5 from overheating problems in a certain boss fight or whatever is unforgivable. Like, for a AAA title, for any game really, it is unforgivable. That should not be a thing, especially in this era of gaming, I feel like. So for me, like, a preview of my new rating system is going to be is like, the game itself, is it good? Side quests, performance, graphics, story, all that stuff. That's going to be one rating, and then the other rating is going to be my personal opinion. Personally, for me, I'll give you that one. I think it was like a 7. Like a 7. I definitely don't think this was anything close to a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. No. Far few in between. There were moments that are 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like, the ending was pretty dope. I liked the ending a lot. The combat was actually pretty fun to me. And I actually really was interested in the story. The only thing that drove me away from like coming back and like wanting to play the game again was when it was side quest Palooza. When you have 20 quests and like 4 of them are irrelevant, you know, or 5 of the 10 that you get are irrelevant, and then the other 4 or 5 are stupid quests, but then the story development you get out of it is pretty decent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, there should have been like a way to balance that out, or just include it in the main story itself. That way it's just not like that big of a hassle. I don't know. I don't know how I would have fixed it, but man, the side quests really do drive away the good parts of this game. Honestly, if it was really that bad, just have it so that the main quests, or not the main quests, the side quests are only important side quests. Don't have this like doo-doo filler fetch quest stuff with bad plot development or no plot development too. I mean, you guys heard, my least favorite quest in this entire thing was getting the silver feather for Edda's baby. Because you have Ambrosia, but you can't get it off Ambrosia. They literally start making a plot hole for the side plot itself, even though it's not that big of a fucking deal, and they don't need to do that. And then not only that, the quest itself was just boring. And then, come to find out, it's one of the most important side quests in the game. You find out that this is like Gav's in a drunk stupor, and Clive has to talk to him like, hey, you're gonna be the next Cid if I don't make it back or if I die. And then he even says it, oh, I love this song. And then he even says it before they leave. My bad, I just love this song so much. It's my favorite song in the game, by far. But yeah, and then you wouldn't have gotten that like plot development and that like actual like, oh, this is why he says this. It's not just kind of out of the blue, like he's like, hey, you've been my right hand man since the beginning. You've done everything that me and Cid needed you to do, and if anyone has the experience to pull off being the next leader, it's gonna be you. So like that was an important side quest, and it was buried under this absolute pile of filth. Like I'm sorry, man, that was just not the side quest. That was just the worst. You know what I'm saying? And sadly, there were a couple of I mean, that was the really bad main proprietor, but there were a couple of really bad side quests that were just, you didn't need to have this in here. It was literally bloat filler. And I feel like I really experienced it this time around. I know a lot of games have this, some games at least, but I really experienced it on this one because I was expecting so much more from a narrative perspective. That beginning of the game, the whole Cid first Mother Crystal sequence, all of that ramps up to like an 11 and 12, and then you're just muddied by all these side quests, and I wanted to do all of them because I was like, the side characters are going to be expanded upon. There's going to be a lot to take in lore-wise, and a lot of the stuff was really active time lore. Now, active time lore for me was actually really fun to read, and even like the Loresman stuff with Harpocrates, but I really didn't like, I feel like this is some stuff that you should be putting in the game, like in cutscenes and stuff. I know, it's cutscene heaven here. You're doing cutscenes for like 5-10 minutes at a time, there's long stretches of them, back to back to back. But if it is a necessary requirement for the story, just put it in there. I do like the iteration of active time lore. It gives you the choice to learn more about it or just learn the base stuff. But I feel like some of the stuff was actually kind of needed. Especially with the developments of the Fallen. We learned that stuff through Harpocrates after leveling up the lore towards the end of the game. They never concluded that storyline in side quests, main quests, nothing. And the Fallen are like this big like mystery in the world, and you only get it through reading text logs. Like, it sucks. It reminds me about Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13, no one even fucking knows, because people already barely like 13, but nobody even knows that 13 is basically in an apocalyptic era where gods are feuding with each other and using humanity as like pawns to throw at each other and try to win a war. Like, it is crazy. The plot for that game is actually insanely cool and awesome, but nobody knows about it because it is just buried in text logs. And let me tell you this, if people aren't going to read a text log, they're definitely not going to press the middle button or the home button on the PlayStation and pull up an active time lore where they have to manually do it as well. It is the exact same thing, it's just a little bit neater and tidier and is specific to things that you're seeing on screen or was just mentioned, which I do like and is like a good thing for me personally. But people who don't read text logs aren't going to read text logs. It just is what it is, you know what I mean? But I mean, overall, I like the story. The story itself for the game is awesome. The story is great. Story itself, I would give like an 8 or a 9 for sure. It was a gripping story. I liked it a lot. Didn't really like the conclusion too much. I mean, it was really just the indomitable will of the human spirit, really, at the end of the day, that you know, turned everything. Even though it might be bleak afterwards, you know, you still give it your best shot, you go gung-ho, and you do your best to make it the best out of whatever situation is given to you. That's a human condition at this point, right? But, and that's what they're trying to say. But, I don't know, I just would have liked, like, a more concrete, like, this is why this is not working, this is why we're beating Ultima, you know, all this stuff. I mean, Mythos is the conglomeration of all these icons and stuff, but so is Ultima. Ultima is the exact same thing, and just like he said, I'm the altar to which you pray. Like, I am you, but literally better in the stats department, but you're beating me somehow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, okay, well, like, give us a reason to be beating him somehow. One thing I really hate about this fucking game, oh my god, the useless gil, crafting material, loot. Just get rid of the spoil screen at that point. Get rid of the money. Just give me drops in the world that give me potions in general, and if I go talk to Tarja in the hideaway, she refreshes my potions. Just do that, because it's more useful to do that than have an ugly pile of gil on my screen every time I defeat enemies that is absolutely useless, and it reminds me every time when the spoil screen comes up that it's useless. It's like, it doesn't do anything. It does literally nothing. The crafting materials, the spoils, the only crafting materials you really need are the ones you get out of bounties. Those you should list on the spoil screens, of course. But getting my 8,000, 999,000 fucking Wyrite medal, or my fucking animal fang, or, you know, black blood, does it really matter at that point? I don't think so. Unless, I mean, I know some of these things are kind of gatekept behind New Game Plus. Some stronger versions of weapons and items. The real quick, the RPG elements weren't even a fucking thing in this game, by the way. Like, the items and stuff, like, basically non-existent. You kind of just power creep as you go along with the game. That's pretty much it. The only thing that really mattered was like the 2 or 3 little talismans that you would upgrade here and there throughout the story that were actually pretty decent. But I was gonna say, some stuff is actually locked behind the New Game Plus. Apparently, one thing you can do is you can use one of the old talismans you earned in your first game, and a new talisman you're gonna earn at the same point in the second playthrough, and they make a stronger talisman. You have no talisman mixing in regular, like, gameplay, like the regular game. And along with that, I've heard there was something else. Oh, just like different enemy variety. But that's cool. That's just a cool thing to add on to New Game Plus. But I don't know, man. It was just, you know, it was a mixed bag for me. It definitely was nowhere near close to 9 or a 10 for me. I think when I mix my 2 reviews together, it'll actually be a shockingly low score. I think it'll be somewhere between a 5 and a 6, realistically. The performance thing is really just unforgivable. The performance mixed with the ability to brick your PS5 from overheating issues is pretty fucking bad. But also just the annoying motion blur thing you couldn't turn off. Some gameplay issues, nothing crazy, just like a little bug here or there, but nothing insanely bad. What else? I'm trying to think. Combat was fun. I don't know what people are saying. I literally used the same combo the entire game, and I had a blast. To be fair, I'm not versed in like Devil May Cry and that type of combat, so maybe people are expecting more when they play that type of stuff. I've never played one of those games ever, so maybe this was just a whole different, like, new feel for me, and that's why I felt like it was fun, a new flavor. But for me, I actually had a lot of fun with the combat, even though I was doing the exact same combos over and over and over again once I found things that I really liked using. I don't know, I just never felt like bored of the gameplay, except for at the very beginning of the game, which has like a very extensive combat tutorial. Really, you don't really get into the meat and potatoes of the combat until you unlock your 3rd icon, and that's after Sid dies. That's like, what, like 10 hours in the game or something? 8 hours? I guess a lot of time. You get a really good, a refresh, a breath of fresh air when you beat Benedicta. That's more along the lines of, I would say, like 3 to 4 hours, but that's still a big entry point just to get your 2nd dose of abilities. Excuse me. I hate that they did away with magic almost like entirely in this game. Yeah, you have that little splash that you do like fucking 10 damage on, but it's not really useful, and there's no elemental affinities in this game. You don't have like a weakness. Like, I was thinking Morbol, he's a plant-based guy. I use fire magic, and it didn't do like any different semblance or nothing like that. So I was actually surprised that wasn't a thing in this game. It's actually pretty disheartening. As I mentioned with Battlecat throughout the stream when she was here for some of the streaming sessions, this game did have something where it wasn't even going to be called Final Fantasy 16. It was actually going to be called something else, like a split away from the main title. I think the problem with them doing that, though, was the fact that, or why they didn't want to do it, is because something like Final Fantasy Stranger of the Paradise, Type 0, and what was the most other recent like branch off? There was another one, I think. I think those are some of their lowest performing games. I could be wrong on this, like sales number wise. I could be completely wrong, but like just from things I've heard in the fandom itself, no one really talks about those games. Fuck, Strangers of Paradise came out, I heard zero chirp about it at all from anywhere. YouTube, forums, anywhere I would look, there was no mention of that game being hype, good, blah, whatever. Except for like, oh yes, IGN put out like a review or something like the day of, which they do for everything, right? That's the only like the thing that I saw from that for like all of those games. So I feel like they thought they had to put this as a main title game, not only because they put so much work and effort behind it, but because, hey, if we make it a non-main title game, everyone's gonna shift away and not really want to buy this game. Even though it was a good, decently written plot and everything, you know, it's just not something people are going to want as much as a mainline game. And it's been so long since they've had a mainline game too, back with 15. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them going ahead and switching up the formula for Final Fantasy into action. I didn't like it at all in 15. Here I liked it a little bit more, but really I feel like the best mix was Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake was the best of both worlds in my opinion. You got the live action gameplay and the magics and the abilities. You were able to control everybody still. It still had that feeling of being like a turn-based, you know, with the ATB gauge and everything like that. But with this game, they really like took a step back in the combat, in my opinion, and they just made it like this huge mess that made it have more shades of Final Fantasy 15 to me than it did 7 Remake. And that's a bad thing, because 7 Remake was not only one of my favorite games almost ever, it's in like my top 5 gameplay experiences ever, because the plot, it was like this at the beginning of this game. The plot was so riveting, I couldn't wait to get back in. The combat was fun, and it had semblances of the turn-based that I liked with the ATB gauge, all that stuff, and the stagger meter, everything. Like, it was everything like mixed together in a good amalgamation to where I thought it was like perfect. It could definitely be better, the gameplay aspect of it. I think if they add a couple things they added to the combat of 16 here and integrated it into 7 Remake 2 or Rebirth, I think that game could be even better than the first one. But the plot stuff that was going on with 7 really made it. Like, I guess for me, a big factor in a game is, does it have a good plot? Like, I guess that's just like my kind of thing. Like, if it has a great plot, I'll like playing it regardless of if it's like my cup of tea gameplay wise or not. But the thing was that they fine-tuned the action combat and the turn-based combat of 7 Remake so much that I was more than satisfied, you know? And I feel like they kind of reverted and went a step back and made it kind of all action, all action. Like, yeah, you have your abilities, but you can't move between party members. They have strict cooldown lines. You can't choose between which ones you want to do at any given time once you get your basically your refresh back, right? I don't know. It just wasn't my type of thing there. But yeah, I mean, those are all my baseline thoughts for the game so far. I'll cover that a little bit in depth as well if I do end up doing a review for the game, which I do think I will end up doing. At this point, no one really cares about Final Fantasy 16 anymore. Everyone's kind of set in stone where they want to be, like whether this is a Game of the Year contender, 9 out of 10, which I personally think it's definitely not, or if you think the game is absolute dog shit, boring, and just trash, which again, I think it's not. I think if I would have just skipped all the unimportant side quests, or if I didn't care about side quests, and I just did like that final batch or whatever, I think I would have had a phenomenal gameplay experience. I would have wondered, like, oh, are the side quests worth doing? You know, are they even good? Maybe they have some developments and that's why the story wasn't as fulfilled. No, And I'm not left wondering that anymore, which I'm really glad. Like, I did all the side quests, and I know the side quests do not fulfill some of the side characters in the game. Some of them they expand upon a lot. Like, I really like that scene with the Gav one, even though it was the worst mission in the game. But it definitely, you know, a lot of these definitely could have been skipped. That is for damn sure. I guess we'll go ahead and just go through this entire thing here. I haven't been doing it. I didn't know how long it was going to be. Special thanks in memory of... Oh, they had a couple people pass. That sucks. That always sucks, man. Creative Business Unit 3, the best business unit ever. Oh, an end credit scene.
Oh. Every time.
Will you light it?
Yes, Mother. Come on. If only I had the flames for an icon.
Eikon? Have you been reading that silly story again? Magic belongs in fairy tales, and fairy tales don't boil kettles.
Whoa.
You see? Well done. Now, be
Are they saying that people with magic
and
don't
supper.
even exist anymore?
Come on. Hurry. Hurry. Right. Right, let's play the saint in the secretary. No, I don't want to be magic.
Look, there's the emblem book.
You want
Yep.
to play them. What of the
Final Fantasy, Joshua Rosfield.
Right. And I get to be a freak. Right, I'm the older brother. Because Bahamut says so.
Because Bahamut says so. So Joshua actually wrote a book before he passed. Oh shit. But where one journey ends... 30 seconds fucking later. I'm assuming it means another begins. Fulfill a legacy. Falling star. Create game clear data. So apparently, Falling Star, I'm assuming that means Medea just fucking fell off, fell out of the fucking stratosphere of the moon or something, right? Because, like, we saw it, like, fickle off when Jill went away. And I guess that was that. Oh, that's crazy. And apparently there is no more magic or even talks of dominance and icons after the world was, like, progressed or whatever. And as you can see, I mean, I guess they do kind of hit on those points that we were saying they didn't hit on here in the post-credit scene. I mean, we saw no semblance of blight. Everything looked nice. The skies were clear. And they said that there was no, like he was mentioning, like, oh, there's no icons. That's a thing of fantasy. Maybe that means, like, you know, there's no magic in general in the world anymore. Now that all the mother crystals are gone, the aether maybe stopped, and then maybe that stopped the blighting. Because remember, the cause of the blighting, which we read in the text log, is the fact that magic was being used excessively by everybody to gain their own whatever they wanted. Whether it be lighting a fucking stove, or going ahead and, you know, lighting a furnace, to lighting your enemies on fire. So it was the magic that was causing the blight, and it looked like there was no blight in that post-cut scene. And they went back to using methods like kind of like Sid and the gang were doing, or Clive and the gang, to everything was running off of magic so that they wouldn't need magic to survive, and the blight maybe doesn't further spread, or maybe even goes away entirely. So that's actually pretty fucking interesting. It reminds me of kind of like the post-credit scene for the original Final Fantasy VII, where it's like a black screen or something after the credits, but you hear laughter of what you assume is kids, but like apparently people, I don't know if this is confirmed or not. I looked into this forever ago when I was on my Final Fantasy 7 binge after the remake came out. I played 7 again, I saw that scene, and I was wondering what it meant, so I looked it up everywhere and all that stuff. And apparently it was what do you call it? It's supposed to be 13's like kids, like his cubs or something, and all of humanity is supposed to have gone extinct after the rapture and stuff that happens essentially at the end of 7. So, I mean, it kind of reminds me of that. But now instead of a rapture happening where all the humans are gone or whatever, it's more like all the magic is gone. You drain the aether, and that's maybe what Clive was saying when he was using the ability. He was like, it's going to end me, but I'm going to end Branded and all that stuff. And essentially he did that by getting rid of aether in general. By getting rid of the origin crystal, by getting rid of its aether. By doing that, there was no mother crystals left in the realm anymore, and by that turn they couldn't farm crystals to use magics, and then by that logic the blight wouldn't further spread. So I mean at least that's what I would expect from what we read in the text logs and all that. So maybe what's contaminated is contaminated, but everything else is left to its own devices and is nice and free. That, or maybe even the Earth heals itself, or the planet. We don't even know if it's Earth. New Game Plus is now available from the title screen. This option allows you to start a new game with player and item data carried over from previous completed playthrough. So we can keep all 50,000 of our Warrick ore. Thank goodness. The gameplay mode Final Fantasy is now available in the exclusive, for use exclusively in New Game Plus. The Final Fantasy gameplay mode offers the following: increased enemy strength, increased player cap level 100, new gear and items, and mode exclusive content. This mode is recommended for players who wish to test their limits. And that is not me. So ladies and gentlemen, whether you were watching this here live with me today, or you guys are watching this on VOD, or through the VOD of the live stream itself, I would just want to extend my gratitude to you guys. Thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun covering this game, even through the begrudging parts, some of the shitty plot holes and side quests that we saw throughout the thing, and even the more amazing parts. Like the final fight was awesome when they were referencing all your allies while you were beating Ultima in the final battle. Some of the combat segments were really, really fun. The earlier story segments were really puzzling, mysterious, and cryptic, and those were fun to try and like guess and decipher what would happen next. Like there were a lot of ups and downs with this game, and I really enjoyed every moment that I spent with you guys. You know, you guys made this experience way better than it could have been with just me on my own, and I'm sure you guys had a blast watching throughout the entire playthrough if you did, or just sections. Like maybe you guys skipped Side Quest Palooza, which I don't blame you. But, you know, either way, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate this, and we have a lot left in store for the channel, from MK1 coverage to MK1 gameplay when it comes out. Elden Ring will finally be hit on again, hopefully. Skyrim, Final Fantasy 13, new games coming up around the horizon, and everything in between. Thank you guys so much for joining me in our Final Fantasy 16 journey, and I hope to see you guys next time for our other playthroughs and coverage. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys around. Stay safe.